Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us. My name is Benjamin Weil. I'm the director of the Project for Israel's National Security at EMET. Before joining EMET, I served as the international advisor to the Israeli Minister of Energy and member of Israel's Security Cabinet, Minister Yuval Steinitz. While working with the minister, I was fortunate to work alongside with our two panelists today, Major General in Reserves Eitan Dangot, President of the Oil and Gas Exploration Industries in Israel, and Amir Foster, Executive Director of the Oil and Gas Exploration Industries in Israel. Major General Dangot previously served as the coordinator of government activities in the territories from 2009 to 2014, identifying and implementing the Israeli government's civil policy in Judea and Samaria and the Gaza Strip. He also served as military secretary to three ministers of defense, Shaul Mofaz, Amir Peretz, and Ehud Barak. Amir Foster has decades of experience in the energy sector. He previously worked as a senior energy analyst in Israel's financial markets. Amir has also established the Foster Consultancy Group that focuses on consulting government ministries around the world on energy-related policies. Welcome, gentlemen, and thank you for joining us today. Today, we are holding a timely discussion entitled The Increasing Energy and Geopolitical Interests in the Mediterranean, and its focus on recent developments in the Mediterranean, such as Turkey's regional energy ambitions, America's Chevron being the first large energy producer to enter the Israeli energy sector, America mediating border talks between Israel and Lebanon, and more. Gentlemen, I would like to start by asking you to please brief us on your organization, on the regional developments, and where we stand today.
Okay, thank you very much, Benjamin. And I appreciate very much your option to invite us for sharing with you some of our information, thinking, goals, and I will be glad with Amir, of course, to answer some of the questions by those who are watching us today. Few words about the association of the oil gas exploration industries that was established in 2010. This union today is centralized, I think, all the oil field, especially or the gas field that were established in the sea, in the Mediterranean. We have around our roof between 7 to 8 companies, the 8 on the way. And one of the main challenges will be the selling of the American company Noble to Chevron that just joined to Israel 2 days ago and took the leadership instead of Noble. I think it's one of the main things that we will discuss later about the process on Israel's place in the region as one of the main energy important countries for energy resources. The association, I think, is centralized all the activities within the connection to the government activities, to the ministries, to the parliament, the Knesset, also with the international activities with represent all these companies, and also concerning activities of helping or be a part for exporting the gas to our area. And this is our context with most of our neighbors. Some of them of this representative I know from my time being at the IDF. So let's continue and bring the main change that I think the game changer that today we are sitting here discussing about Israel as one of the main important countries in the Mediterranean, which fulfill a great task for the present and for the long-term future in over to create a new Middle East. And we combine together this kind of challenge that we are moving ahead very quick today by looking on the left side and look about the Mediterranean area on the shore of Israel, the economic water, what we call. This picture is from 1991, and you see nothing. Israel was empty. It was only a place while some of our enemies didn't forget their dreams and statement that their goal is to throw Israel population to the sea under some kind of attacks. We are talking now about quite different world when you see what is the situation 2019, 2020, while one of the main great found that was found of gas field, they were found in the Mediterranean. Just look about the middle, you see the big one, Leviathan, we will give you the numbers, how we have there, and the second field earlier, Tamar, and a year from now, we will operate two other new field gas area in the sea, Karish and Tanin, and we are going inside a process of looking for a future foundation for this kind of gas and oil for this region. If you are looking about what's going in this kind of water, and also the sharing between Israel and our neighbors, like Cyprus, like Egypt, and we will discuss about Lebanon, you see that the great jump that Israel today is independent country that does not have to consider boycott about import of oil, faucet, and other kind of thing, or coin. Today, we are independent to have our energy resources without being depend on anybody outside. We have it on security field, not be like under a threat that one of these fields will be attacked. We have opportunities to change the resources to another places, and that is with the all what we found in the area gave us to bring a new, I think, vision to this area that already has started already, to have a new Middle East, a new Mediterranean, which the economy, which equal to security, supply us this kind of opportunities with all the threats that we are sharing every day from the east side. I think the West and this development open to Israel opportunities to be strong economic country. Secondly, to have main common interest with neighbors that we had before, called peace or non-peace or other kind of things. And together with the recent development in the Middle East, with the normalization with Gulf countries that we will also remind it later on, I think that today, Middle East, Mediterranean has changed besides the needs of our area, which we will look on it, will need a lot of energy for the coming years. Amir, please take now your time.
Thank you, Eitan. Thank you, Benjamin. Good morning. Good morning, America. First of all, before we will dive into the regional and Israel energy markets, a few words about the global trends and forecasts. So we can see here that a forecast, the base forecast of the International Energy Association, and what we are seeing from these figures is that in 2040, in the basic scenario, still fossil fuel will represent 74% of primary energy supply in the world. And even in the sustainable development scenario, which is the most greener scenario, still fossil fuel will have a share of 60% of world energy fuel mix. So fossil fuel is still, for the next decade, is a very, very important source of energy for the world. But inside that, if we trying to see which kind of energies the world will consume in the next 20 years, if we do it, if we're trying to see what is going to be in the next 20 years compared to what we had till 2000, we see that in coal and oil represent 55% of contribution to growth in the last 18, 20 years, okay? And in the future, the next 20 years, 23 years, it will also will be 11% in the contribution to growth, okay? And actually the natural gas in the basic scenario is going to be the single energy source is expected to record the most rapid growth rate. Here in the renewables, there is few kinds of renewables, included PV and including wind, for instance, but natural gas is a dominant source for energy in the next 20 years. And that's what we find in Israel. So we are happy with that. The reason world going to natural gas is because the pollution are much lower than coal and oil. And the greenhouse emissions are half of the emissions than coal and oil. So it's a very good source and reliable source. If we look about Israel, so we start our story with the gas. Actually, it's quite a amazing story in my eyes, because all the revolution, the energy revolution, which we will represent here, first to Israel energy market, then all the geopolitical things that we have around it, it all starts with a huge ally between Israel and the state. It all started with working together, Americans company and Israeli companies. Okay, so in 1999, a company, which after that called Noble Energy, find gas here in the south part of the Israel economic waters. It was about 30 BCM. BCM, it's billion cubic meter. It's not a lot. It's a medium-sized gas field, but it's helped us to start the natural gas market in Israel. First production was 2004, but the big change was the finding of a lot of gas here in the deep water area of the economic waters of Israel. In 3 years' time, we found, with help, of course, of American Noble Energy, we found about 1,000 BCM. Just to emphasize that, in those days, we consumed 5 BCM a year. We find 1,000. Today, we consume 11, 12 BCM of natural gas. We have more potential, of course, to use about 20 maybe in the future, but 11, 12 BCM of natural gas represent 40% of Israel energy demand, etc. Like if we look in BCM, on BCM terms, all the demand for energy in Israel, included coal, included oil, is about 27 BCM, and we found 1,000 in 3 years, okay? 2013, first production of Tamar. 2017, export agreements with NEPCO, which is the governmental company which like a power generation company in Jordan, the power generation company of Jordan. In 2017, Leviathan project is FID, final investment decision. 2018, gas export agreements with Egypt. 2018, Karish and Tanin gas field project is FID, final investment decision. Oh, sorry here about the Hebrew, my mistake. But in 2019, first production from a Leviathan gas field. 2020, first export of gas, massive export of gas to Egypt and Jordan. Actually, today, most of the electricity in Jordan is powered by Israeli gas. As an Israeli, it's, you know, it's amazing thing to think about it. You know, so much cooperation with Jordan and Egypt. We are today, we elaborated that later, but today Israel and Egypt have same energy interests. We are like the best energy allies in the region, you know, it's amazing. And then in 2020, Chevron by Noble and actually entered into Israel, which is Um, in my opinion, and many other Israelis, is the huge celebration for Israel, not only to the region too, and we will talk about it later more. Just to emphasize the shift between natural gas and coal in Israel, today, almost 70% of power generation in Israel is made with natural gas. It saves us about $11–12 billion in energy, in the energy bill of Israel. $11 billion is a lot of money for Israel. It took our emissions of pollutants like SOx emission and NOx emission take them down by 70 to 80%. Air today is much more cleaner because of that. And of course, it's give us a lot of tax too, and much more tax in the future to the government. Except Israel and the major findings of gas in Israel, we can see in this slide that in the region, other countries found gas too. Egypt, a lot of gas. In Zohr gas field, which is quite the same size as Leviathan, about 600 BCM of natural gas. And the thing that I think that it's important to take from that is we found a lot of gas, okay? 70 TCF is another measure for gas. 70 TCF, it's about 2,800 BCM in the region. And those findings was 30% of the recent discoveries in the world. So we see that there is a lot of potential which is found already, but the potential for the region is to find between 100 to 300 TCF, almost up to times 4.5 the amount of gas which already found. So there is massive potential and the reason for more gas findings. Eitan, please. Just before, just another word, because we found so much gas, and because we have so much potential to find more, so the next development of Israeli gas market is look outside. Of course, in Israel, we're trying to get out of the coal as fast as we can, but the core of the future development will be regional and beyond the regional energy markets. So please, Eitan, and thank you.
Thank you, Amir. If we continue and looking in the Mediterranean area, I think one of the main conclusions that most of the countries among this area, which has a lot of, I think, history of up and down on their relation as a countries and states with term of tense and term of more close, I think came a conclusion that the unity of this block of area, which has the base with a lot of energy power to itself and to supply over direction in this junction, important junctions that we are locating in the Mediterranean between Middle East, Asia on the east side and Europe, bring us to first of all for ourselves, to conclusion that the triangle, as I call it, between Israel, Egypt, and Jordan, peace countries, has to climb up to another floors than it was in the past. Two agreements that were signed by those countries for the coming 20 years shows that the means and the aims and the goals between those countries are not going to something that attends of a kind of event that can happen in this uncontrolled area will break it and change it. Because today, from this area, Israel today has changed the direction from the past as import gas from Egypt. Today already, for more than half a year, Israel is supplying, by the links that you see on the red on the slide, to Egypt gas that is cooperate together also for the Egyptian needs and also for the Egyptian national goals for exporting gas outside of Egypt. Secondly, to Jordan as a very sensitive country, which is coming between the West Bank and after the Jordan, and Jordan as the goalkeeper towards the threat that is coming from the Shiite wing, from Iran, from Iraq, from Syria. Jordan today depends on using most of its energy resources, getting it already from Israel, from the south, and also from the area of the north. Secondly, the other countries like Cyprus and Greek and Italy on the long, that is more far away from our area, came to a conclusion together that a bloc of these countries can supply a real opportunities to this sensitive area of the Mediterranean, because we are talking about the north part of Africa, we are talking about the east, south area of the Mediterranean, which the population is growth dramatically, and we will look at it later. It means the demand for energy will increase. So this kind of cooperation create now a strong area that all the countries understood. The economy bring them the peaceful for their regimes. Israel is a democratic country. Egypt on his way of under the leadership of Sisi. Jordan controlled by the king of Jordan on its country. He has a very complicated country with the combination of the population there between Palestinians, Jordanian, from the Hashemis, and also refugees that come from Syria. To this puzzle, two main countries has been missed, Turkey and Lebanon. The recent development that we announced it, that after many years that were discussed opportunities, Israel and Lebanon, on the border between them, on the west side, if you know Rosh Hanikra, will sit and talk about sharing the economic water between Israel and Lebanon and create maybe opportunity to achieve a new agreement. What does it mean? It means a great opportunity to change the tense with Lebanon that is controlled by the main strong terror organization, the only case, I think, in the world that a terror organization is controlling a country, I mean Hezbollah, which is a proxy by Tehran, that today Lebanon, which is all its problems and economy the breaks, and with the scenario they are facing there, needs the opportunity to found, and they have opportunity gas field, and they are going to sit with us. I can share with you that myself, as a military officer, my memories from discussions with Lebanon is only the military field. While we were sitting on Second Lebanon War, returning the two bodies of the kidnapped soldiers from the beginning of the war for other kind of things. And now we are going to talk in the border on a civil issue. What does it mean? It was stated first time on the Lebanese parliament by one of the main enemy that Israel has there, Amir. And what does it mean? It means that Lebanon, under the Iranian, came to conclusion that it needs to sit with Israel in opportunity to find something. And each achievement that above all is the involvement of the United States. And with your permission, Benjamin, 1 minute about the United States. I think that all the development in the Middle East, all the development in the Mediterranean has come to the normalization with Emirates, Bahrain, and what we achieve now as the result, as the American policy was not to leave the area. It means the American continue to be a strong umbrella that combine together economical, democratic interest that brought many countries to understand that under this umbrella, the achievements that can be reached by those countries against the threat that they are facing every day from the wing of Tehran can be safety and other insurance. And the main sign for it is the entrance to Israel of Chevron that were active in this region only in Arab countries. And such a company of Chevron, I think the second gas company all over the world that came and now open a branch inside Israel, it gives a strong back to this kind of policy. Just to imagine situation or scenario that Chevron is looking also for other gas fields in Israeli economic water. Would you think that Hezbollah and Lebanon will dare automatically to risk such American strong, important companies for American economy, and also above all, this umbrella that the United States is supplies to this region? And that brings us to the main partnership that Israel has in this region is with Egypt, like we look in these slides, that the combination that Israel supply gas to Egypt and it is export by the way of LNG gas all over the world, it means that the direction of those ships can go crossing Suez Canal and goes to the Far East and go to other countries. And I'm not looking only of the area in the Mediterranean, but as I said, and if you can move to the next slide, Amir, please, we have one problem in this area. But before it, just to make it clear, if you look and see the yellow color as the African area, and above it, the blue color for Europe, and you look what's going in the East, my conclusion when we investigate that the number of population that are going to grow in the coming 20 years in this area will need a lot of increasing supplying of resources of energy. We see the change of more than 100 million people that will live in this area more. Europe will stay more or less the same situation. And to give them the resources of energy, the new development says that Israel, Egypt especially, are the main supplier to this area. And you see the change by 60%, the 2040 of the energy that will be supplied to this area will be for Africa, and the color of the blue color will be the Europe. It means we are locating at the most sensitive area in the Mediterranean, which will need this kind of resources by gas. Secondly, is the issue of what is the main mine today. We will stay and look what's going with Lebanon. It can fail, by the way. I'm not giving it more than 40%, but it's a lot to sit first time and talk. But if you are looking, the main today challenge is the Turkey's policy towards what's going in the Middle East. And not a long time ago, Turkey and Libya signed agreement. I mean, Turkey with the bad leadership in Libya, which the United States, Russia, Egypt, and other countries are supporting the opposition in Libya, Turkey joint venture with the present leadership and sign agreement which share all the water area between Libya and Turkey as a one strip, and said to the other parties on the block that I just described, hey, you have a problem. You cannot make your plans of a link or pipe between Israel to Italy without being considered by us. We can create you a delay. We can create you problems. And now also, Turkey is moving and making some kind of power activities in the Mediterranean towards Cyprus and towards Greek. And what does it mean? If we are looking about Turkey, Turkey resources of energy were based on Russia and Iran. On the last half a year here, we identify that Turkey as in a reorganization, not to be dependent on one country as Russia, and change the amount of gas, reduce it and something like 40 to 50% from Russia instead of it by LNG or other kind of thing all over the world. Turkey is looking to be dependent and to share all its opportunity of resources on other places. But on the other end, you cannot come with economy ambitious, telling us, Israel, we will make with you economy agreements, etc. But on the other end, as Turkey, we will put umbrella to support terror organizations like Hamas, like others that are based or belong to the Muslim Brothers. And for such occasions, you cannot create such divide between policies. And Turkey, for now, is outside of this kind of arrangement. And in my opinion, with all the fact that today, the Israeli achievements with the Gulf countries, with the area of the Mediterranean, we are not need so much Turkey as a big partner for economy, only by changing the policy of Turkey that I don't have so optimistic way to think about it. The last and the least, but not the least, is the European big projects between Israel to Italy on moving ahead gas that will stop in Greek, Italy, will take it to other European countries. Okay. The last pictures showed you the great change, and I think the figures sum up what I just described you in the last few minutes. You have here all the ministers of energy, the gas forum of the East Med gas forum, that with the American energy minister, which are today, together, by the way, with the Palestinians. We joined the Palestinians to this kind of bloc in order to make it clear to the Palestinians that you are a part, that you can share and get all your energy needs by this kind of developments. And I think that this bloc is the main symbol for the change that the Mediterranean, the Middle East are moving. If you ask me, 3 years ago, it was like a dream. Today, it's only how you move ahead with it and going. And I leave you, Benjamin, to talk about some also looking to the east side, some opportunities in this area as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your very informative briefing. You have covered a number of topics here that need to be unpacked. And I would like to begin actually with the EastMed pipeline, which obviously correlates and is closely linked to the East Mediterranean Gas Forum, which was recently upgraded into a regional institution. And I would like to ask you both, Amir, more the energy side, what can we expect in terms of the impact that this pipeline would have on Europe in terms of the energy cooperation? And will that spill over also into, we'll say, renewable energy? And Eitan, in terms of geopolitical risks, and you did mention Turkey, and we'll get to that later on, what risks are involved? How can we overcome that hurdle? And how can we make sure that this pipeline is built very quickly, swiftly, and with as least problems as possible? What needs to be done, and what do you recommend we do?
Okay, thank you. So first of all, about Europe, we need to understand that even Europe is a leader in turn into renewables energy, a world leader. They also, the old gas fields in UK, in Netherlands are depleted. So even for 20, 30 years, gas demand in Europe will stay equal or will go down a little bit. they still need to diverse their gas sources, because today, if they want to do it, and they do it with the state too, with LNG from the state too, if they won't do it, so they are totally in the hands of Russia, and it's something that they don't know want to be in. They don't want to link so close to Russia and to be in their hands, actually, from energy perspective. So they try to find way how to diverse. In Israel eyes and regional eyes, EastMed pipeline is very important thing to try and promote. It's not easy right now because coronavirus, energy prices, etc. And it's a really expensive pipeline too. It's hard to build because it's really, from engineering point of view, it's really deep, etc. But it's of course doable. So it's one options that we have to export gas from the region, and it's good to promote it. There is other options too, like LNG facilities that there is in Egypt, which are not full operated right now because lack of natural gas. And there is options to build floating LNG facilities in Israel economic waters. There is few options, and we need to not to put all our eggs in one basket and trying to figure out best ways to export. I believe that company like Chevron, with the deep pockets of Chevron, just to emphasize, in Israel, the market cap of Chevron, it's 20 times, not 20 times, 20% more than the market cap of the 35 biggest companies in Israel. In our perspective, is a huge company with deep pocket, with strategic view, not for 5 years, 10 years, for 20, 30, 40, 50 years. And project like that need this strategic view and economic power, like Chevron have. And Chevron also have a very a huge network world network to market these guys all over the world. So we have a lot of options, and we just need. You asked me what I think we need to do. So first of all, work very close together with our neighbors. If you do something like that, it gives you like peace to work, you know. And this is one thing. And second thing is let the market work. I believe that our unique position in the area and the enormous amount of gas we have, if governments just put the bilateral agreements that give the market to work, it will work. It will work perfectly. So that's what I think.
If I may, Benjamin, just to go back to Turkey concerning your question, if I may mention, you are now in this area between the NBA, what you called between Los Angeles and Miami. We are not sleeping here at night when we are watching it, and I will not tell you who I'm supporting, but on the other end, if you are looking about Turkey and you're looking about the top 5, that is something that I took it from the NBA and look what can be done. I think the main point is the United States staying in this area and continue to fulfill the umbrella on the area by this kind of connections and very clear policy. The second, we have to break the agreement between Libya and Turkey, because Erdogan did it as a part, and this is the third point, that Erdogan look himself as to getting the hegemony on the area of the Mediterranean. to combine it together. And I think to everybody is clear, Erdogan made 2 agreements with Libya. First is the Mediterranean agreement by connecting the economy water. The second one is the security. On the other hand, he saved the present bad guys in the leadership in Libya, while the Russians, Americans, Egypt, and others are supporting the opposition there, and it's very clear who is the bad and who is the good. And the second issue is to bring Turkey to a way that Erdogan cannot combine together with all the respecting his Islamic way of looking, but he cannot adopt the radical policy of the Muslim brothers and take under his umbrella all the bets. And with all the bets, I just reminded a little bit before, and for it to give, for example, the only country or the main country that can direct, navigate, or try to do it on a way it's not easy is the United States, but as a very a clear policy, we are not leaving the region. It's a sign for the Mediterranean, and it's a sign also to continue this great change and opportunities. You know, you have opportunities with the risk that you have all over Europe. The third or the fourth is to try to find, above all, way to talk with Turkey. I support it. I support, as a military officer, all the things you can do and efforts to create channels of speaking with your enemy, with your neighbors that are not like you or you don't like them, but trying to find kind of interest that will take the timetable and will make it other opportunities. Like, as I mentioned with Lebanon, with all the fact that the main threat, military threat today to Israel is coming from Lebanon, which has arsenal of more than 130,000 kind of rockets for a long range and short range, etc. But a day after, while they're coming to sit, it means they are consider what can happen to their people, that they have to feed them and to find for them a new solution for the future for 5 years, 10 years, unless it's going. So if you ask me, I'm not optimistic about Turkey. I think that the bloc of the area of the Mediterranean is quite strong today. And if you add to it, you know, Emirates, as I said, the Emirates today are, by Turkey, they are looking as one of the main enemies because it's the opposite side of the Sunnis, Muslim, to look about other kind of way to the world, to the life. And today where we are looking, and I didn't mention it, we are talking about opportunities of a link from Israel to Eilat, the southern point, that we can load or bring oil to the ports in Israel, in Ashdod, in Haifa. There is already the infrastructure for it from the past, and can, of course, after making it the activity, the work on it, it can be exported to all the areas. So what we are talking about context with such a way to Emirates, to Saudi Arabia, or even countries that are not mentioned today, like Kuwait or others that have the gas. And if I dare to say also Qatar, such a small country which fulfills such a big noise in this region with the Muslim brothers. And I'm sorry, this is the reality here. You connect economy with security. And I think today, first time that Israel is the one of the main partners for the future of economy in the Mediterranean, towards Europe, towards the Middle East, and towards also the Gulf countries. And one remark that I would like to mention concerning Palestinians that I worked with them many years as the military secretary to the Minister of Defense, and also by fulfilling the job of the coordinator of the government activities in the West Bank in Gaza. A lot is talking about the future of Gaza, the poverty, the problems, and I think a new resources of energy for electricity for water, for other kind of things, we have the solution. Gaza is only 2 million people. The West Bank is a part of living side by side with Israel between Jordan, can get also the benefit. We can create a different and change of life to this community. They are living with us. We see them every day. We are living with them. So before running a long range towards the Gulf countries, also for the Palestinians, the issue of energy is creating a base of solution.
Yes, and I just want to point out a very ironic remark as you mentioned the Ashkelon-Eilat pipeline. Not many people know this, but it's partially owned, again, ironically, by Iran. So I guess somehow Iran is involved in
I hope they will not demand to share with us the profits in the future. But
I hope.
You know, we have nothing towards the Iranian people. I think that there is in Israel a good memories from the relationship that has established. We are waiting to the time that the world will understand that the devil is inside the present regime in Iran. They are looking how to create such a threat with nuclear development by moving ahead proxies like Hezbollah and others in order to destroy, to bring people back to live life many years ago, to prevent people from in such a high technology world to share and to enjoy from it. And by the year of this group, the moment that it will change its policy or will be removed from its entity, I think that the Middle East will have opportunities. And as I said, the turn of the circle that most of the Gulf countries today are not afraid to talk it loudly. Even in the streets, they have opposition by the public opinion. And it means the Palestinian issue is not a condition for the future. It means that the future is the future, and inside you have to bring also the Palestinian issue as well. And this is the great achievement, if I may say, that was achieved by the Trump program that was published. I think the turn of the circle is now today the great opportunity after many years in the Middle East. We should not come back to what was the regular way of Palestinians and after that the other. We can do it together with better economy, with better future for our next generations.
Yeah, and we only have about 3 minutes. Sorry.
Okay, sorry. No, sorry.
3 minutes before we go to Q&A from the audience, because I know that we've received a number of questions. And as long as we're on touching the Gulf countries, the UAE and Bahrain, both energy producing countries, have agreed to normalize relations with Israel. So what sort of cooperation could we expect from this deal? And more importantly, could this potentially spark an energy cooperation between Saudi Arabia or Qatar, as you mentioned, with Israel, even if at this point there's no official peace agreement between the two countries?
I think that you have a lot of opportunities. Some of them I just mentioned before. I think that imagination can be reality. And I think the idea is that even today, some of our main director generals of energy companies are sitting with people from those countries. It's not a secret. We are sitting, talking about exchange of knowledge, of technology, with exchange of knowledge or getting from them opportunities. There are many parts of this world that are need the resources of energy. And by combination, we are locating on the main junction today, like Turkey is a main junction to Europe and the area of Russia. And I said it with a very serious way of links Israel, Egypt together can save a lot of opportunities of transportation or work on this kind of faucet or other kind of resources and gas, and can export it to all over other places. And secondly, you cannot divide from it the high technology that can be based together, it's one package. We are talking other opportunities, but when you are looking the main stone, the main rock for it, I think it's the main of energy, and where a lot of opportunities these days. And I hope that we will overcome the corona, and then the opportunities for the Middle East will be also much more faster and be reality. And last is but not least, is the end of the election in the United States. I think that some of those countries are waiting to see the next presidential stuff in the United States, whether it will be Trump or Biden, what will be its policy towards this kind of achievements that I just described in the Middle East. If it continues, doesn't matter who will win there. I'm keeping myself, of course, outside of it, but to continue this policy and to supply this important of support and umbrella to this sensitive region.
And another short angle, I believe, and actually I see what's happened now, when the world is seeing that Israel is working with the Arab world, it's not only thoughts or agreements that are, it's reality. We never had such a huge connection, economic connection with Egypt and Jordan. When the world seeing that, what countries in the Gulf seeing that, when the Arab world seeing that, it's influence to other places in the world. And for instance, major companies all over the world that didn't want actually, maybe afraid to work in Israel because Arab boycott or something like that, it's going to finish. We see, it's amazing to see it, online, to see how it's happened. And it's all because we are showing to the world that we can live here and work here together, Israel and the Arab world, to the benefit for the region. And it's not a cliche. It's actually, it's our reality today, and it's going stronger and stronger and stronger. So it's quite amazing actually to see that. Yeah.
Thank you, gentlemen. This was very, very informative, very, very interesting, and there are so many more topics that we can discuss related to these issues, but I would like now to give the stage to Sarah Leah to ask some questions from our audience.
Thank you, Ben, and thank you so much to our panelists for all of the very informative topics and information that you've shared with us. So we've gotten a number of questions from the audience, and unfortunately we won't be able to answer all of them, but we'll do our best. So the first question we have, is the East Mediterranean Gas Forum meant to be like an OPEC-like natural gas cartel, or is it primarily set to consolidate regional interests against those of Turkey? And whoever feels comfortable answering, either Eitan or Amir.
Amir is the younger, I'll give him the opportunity to answer.
Okay, thank you, Eitan. And thank you for saying that I'm young, yes. So it's totally not like OPEC. It's different thing. Today, the area infrastructure, the basin, the East Med basin is a young one. And for driving it up, we need a lot of infrastructure building. We need cooperation between countries. The secret for a natural gas market, mature natural gas market, is to build infrastructure. And here is a regional infrastructure. And the goal of this forum, the first goal, in the future, we may maybe see more things that this forum linked to, but the goal is to make the energy market here to take the potential and of this that we have here and make it a reality for the benefits of the people in the region. This is the core excuse to build this forum, and it's quite good, I think.
I would like to add shortly to this, I think, question that is a right question, but the rules in the Middle East, first of all, the fact that you have such a unity meeting with the ministers, at the beginning, it was like a symbol. Today, it's operative. And what we can achieve, it's a synergy, like to get more from each country that it has bring its own resources and bring its own policy. Just imagine Egypt, Israel, Greek on the other side towards Europe, what they can arrange together. And that it means that this forum can go inside and to continue and add more and more in two main levels. First of all, for itself, of looking maybe for one program of looking for the next fields, looking about the world market, what is better to do now, who will make today the looking for the new fields, who will make the links, who will make LNG and the others. It means to fulfill the interest of each country. Secondly, when you are looking as Turkey is now on the side, and you see all the block of ministers with the United States are meeting together, it means and it signals the fact that we are here not for one day, not 1 month, for many years. And this is something that I don't remember any kind of forum like this in the past. And for us as Israeli, not to do something that is with security and build it, I really would like also to have a compliment to our Minister of Energy, which really created with patience and under a lot of attacks concerning the gas interiorly. We were a lot of opposition here. What's the problem from the gas? At the end, the direction for the Israeli future, finance, resources, energy, and also for helping to reduce the damage for the air that is coming from the gas, I think together is create this kind of achievements.
Great. I think we have time for one more question. This is a little bit of a longer question, so please bear with me. By Israel demarcating a maritime border with Lebanon, wouldn't that result in supplying Hezbollah with cash and arms through the development of their energy assets? Does the maritime demarcation with Lebanon have the potential in granting Hezbollah an entry into the gas sector?
I didn't hear
Can you
well.
repeat again? Yeah.
Yeah, I'll ask it one more time. Sorry about that. By Israel demarcating a maritime border with Lebanon, wouldn't that result in supplying Hezbollah with cash and arms through the development of their energy assets? And does the maritime demarcation with Lebanon have the potential in granting Hezbollah an entry into the gas sector?
First of all, of course, that Hezbollah is involved. I'm not looking like a naive. The issue that Hezbollah gave the Lebanese government that he is a member on it, it's the only country which the organization is a part of a government, to sit and talk, it means they are well recognized the threats they are facing from the local population, Shiites and Sunnis, by the way, all over Lebanon. Secondly, we are far away from such problems that were raised by the guy who answered, or was asking this question. I think that first of all, we have to solve the issue of the economic water. If Lebanon is going to find out or to work on this water to look for a gas field, it should give insurance where the money will go, under inspector of way to look on it, and companies that will come from the United States will be under, I think, a strong way of looking from the American authorities to see where the money is going. So if you ask me what is better, I'm, again, as a military, prefer to find the way and the mechanism or the formula how to move it slowly but safety and with kind of insurance, and to try to create a new regime. It will have to cross a lot of field mines. And I hope that on the way, Iran will not make the button for Hezbollah, open something towards Israel. But it means the direction of Lebanon is a way of understanding the bad situation they are inside today.
Thank you very much. And I'm sorry for all the questions we didn't get a chance to ask. If it's okay with you, we'll forward all the questions to your email and get back to our audience with your answers. I really appreciated the opportunity to walk away with some really thoughtful commentary about the geopolitical challenges and opportunities the energy sector in the Mediterranean has created, and how the United States can contribute to the growth and stability of the region. And before we wrap up, I'd just like to say this webinar and much of EMET's work on Capitol Hill has costs. And if you enjoyed this webinar or any previous EMET webinar, I ask you to please consider investing in EMET at our website, emetonline.org. That's EMETONLINE.org, so that we can continue hosting relevant and impactful webinars in the future. Thank you very much and have a rest of a wonderful day. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.